Good morning, everybody. It's Elsie. Hoping you can't hear that. It sounds like a leaf blower or a weed whacker. So, for those of you who don't know, I did post a short video about this, but my area just was slightly impacted by Hurricane Ian. Now, we were supposed to be completely devastated. Like, this hurricane was a category 4. It would have been a category 4-ish when it got to me, and it would have completely decimated, literally right on top of me. So instead, it's going to decimate somebody. Once it gets in the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to decimate somebody because it has to go somewhere. It's not going to go back out the way it came in. So unfortunately, it completely decimated a bunch of other communities in southwestern Florida. It will take years for those communities to recover. Like, places were flattened. And a lot of it was from the water. It just washed houses right out into the Gulf of Mexico. So please send all your prayers and thoughts, donations. Maybe I can find a place to donate that I can put in the description here. But people have lost everything. Some people lost their lives. If you live in Florida and there is a hurricane coming up the west coast of Florida, every single person on the west coast of Florida should be prepared. If you live on a barrier island, you should be prepared to leave, because literally a barrier island is a barrier for storms between the Gulf of Mexico and the mainland. So your house basically gets blown away so other people's houses don't. So that's what it means to live on a barrier island. All right, that's getting louder over there now, so I hope they aren't gonna keep that up too long. So if you're on a barrier island, depending on where the hurricane's gonna hit, they evacuate. They have mandatory evacuations, and sometimes they open the bridge that goes out to the barrier island. So if you're there and you don't leave, you're stuck there. No one is coming to save you. That's the thing about evacuation. And the sad thing about evacuation is that some people can't afford to evacuate. They don't have the resources. When I evacuated from Hurricane Irma, which is the only time I've left the state for a hurricane in my 20 years in Florida, was Irma, because that also was going to be a category 4 right on top of me. And so, but in order to evacuate, normally you have to leave early or the roads will be clogged with people. There will be no gas. So when I can't remember how many days early I left for Irma, but some of the gas stations I passed, I didn't go on the highway. Fortunately, the highway was really clogged up. So I went on Route 19, which goes north. It's a smaller road. And there were gas stations that didn't have gas. So basically, anytime I saw a gas station that had gas, I just stopped and topped off, right? Because I didn't know when the next one would be. A lot of people went to Georgia for Irma. So today, I was going to go out last night, and I might have if Paul had been able to come over and he wanted to go out last night, I probably would have got some energy. But I just was so, during these storms, there's just a lot of adrenaline. Even if you're not in your house, you're watching it. You're like, oh my God, is my home going to be destroyed or whatever? And so I had woken up on Tuesday morning at 5:30 in the morning and looked at I was going to stay because I thought it was going to make land north of us. And at 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning, it was coming literally just directly over me. It was going to make landfall. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I live on a peninsula. And so if, just like the people now who are stuck on islands down south, like Sanibel Island, their bridge broke. It collapsed. So no one can leave there except on a boat until they fix it. Who knows when that will be. And so I didn't want to, I live on a peninsula that you can only get to, well, there's one way you can get to by land, but it's all lowland. So right now, today, Saturday, the highway, I-75, south of me, from like Venice to Punta Gorda, is still underwater in places. So I didn't want to be on this peninsula and get stuck here if this was going to be bad. So I went not even that far. It was only like 45 minutes away to the north of me, so I wouldn't be on the peninsula. So that, let's say my apartment was destroyed and everything I own, and I couldn't even get back here to my apartment, I could have just driven north and gone to my niece's in Virginia. So I was just trying to be strategic, you know, just for whatever happened, because it's so unpredictable. So there's just some cleanup going on in my neighborhood, but it's nothing bad. I lost power for 24 hours. Some people still don't have power. My friend told me because I live in a rich neighborhood, they'll probably get the power back on there. I'm not rich. I just live in a rich neighborhood. I rent. She's like, you'll probably get your power on pretty quick. So, and I did. It was like 24 hours. And there are like hundreds of thousands of people without power. So I am super thankful. There are still people in St. Pete without power. So I got really lucky. So, yeah, so that's all been going on. Right before that, I had COVID. So I'm just like, could we just have a little, you know, boring time for a little while? Yeah, so that's that. That's the hurricane. I'm hoping that's going to be the only big, ugly, dangerous one this season. I mean, Jesus, it's going to take years to clean up from Ian. So, on another note, so I'm still reading this book. Oh, it's partly my fault, okay? And I will tell you, so some of you are on Paul's channel, Renetto, and he's doing something really hard right now. And sometimes it feels easy to him and sometimes it feels hard, but what he's doing is really hard. And he's doing an amazing job. I am so damn proud of him. I'm just, yeah. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm not doing anything hard right now. And I think that's part of the reason I feel stagnant, right? I've said this like a dozen times at least. I think it's because I'm not doing anything challenging. And, you know, I should be grateful that my life doesn't feel challenging, right? And I do. I am grateful that it isn't challenging. But I also need and want to be challenged. So, I've definitely, with COVID, which is understandable, I go through phases, I'm sure, but with COVID and with the hurricane, I've been on my phone a lot. I've been on my phone way too much. And, you know, my friend Gloria, who I stayed with for the hurricane, and I talked about how much more difficult it is for us to read. Not the act of reading, but the act of sitting down, putting our phone down, and taking the space to read. Because reading takes space if you want to absorb any of it, you know. It's the whole attention span thing, you know. Your phone is like your mind and your eyes are just everywhere. You're scrolling and everything is different, and it's just this sort of barrage of stuff, okay? And so I need to challenge myself, and I won't be able to do that unless I am on my phone less. Now, I use my phone for some things that are really valuable. I use it to check up on friends and family. I use it to promote myself, right? Mostly promoting the 5,000 Hugs Project. Fortunately, I have not had to promote my website business very much because I just always get business. I've been doing it for 20 years. People refer others to me, and hopefully that will continue to be the case. But, you know, I like my Instagram feed, which is Crazy Sexy Elsie. And I actually have, which I'll talk about in a minute, I think I have 5 Instagram accounts now. One of them I don't really keep up with anymore. One of them is for the Hugmobile, which I don't have yet. So I just created the account so I could get the username. So there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them that I use. One not as much, but anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. So this book is really good, and I hate that I haven't finished it yet because it's just dumb that I haven't finished reading this book yet, okay? But I will say that I'm more than halfway. I only have this much left to read, and I like reading, and I have so many books that I want to read, and I have to spend more time doing that. I want to, not I have to, like I want to. I want to spend more time doing that. And so I need to clear space. I need to, you know, I know part of it is that like dopamine rush or whatever you get from going online and seeing that people liked your post and all that stuff. I definitely have used my phone, like especially when I had migraines, when I had COVID, you know, during the hurricane, to communicate with people so I could feel connected, because I really like to feel connected. So I need the balance though, because I do spend a lot of time scrolling, and I don't think that scrolling is doing very much for me, right? Other than wasting time, killing time, right? But if I want to kill time, I'd rather do it on something, and I don't want to feel like I'm working all the time either, but I want to do it on something that is getting me further along to the places I want to go, right? That are getting me better results than just killing time. So I'm not sure how I'm going to, you know, if I'm going to say I'm only going to look at my phone, you know, for an hour in the morning, and then like, you know, half an hour at lunch, and then maybe an hour at night. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I know that I need to, I know that I'd rather be spending that time on other things that are more meaningful. So, yeah. So I hope to God that next time I make a video, I have finished this book. So right now, the part I'm reading, which I'm not going to read you any of it today, but it's about the process of dying, which is interesting, and I don't really, you know, believe or not agree with. I don't necessarily think that this is what happens, but I think it's interesting to hear this perspective on what happens. So, so I do want to finish this book and start on the next one. I think the next book I'm going to read is by Pema Chodron. Oh, let's see. I think I have it here. Okay, I do. It's called, and Pema Chodron is this famous Buddhist, it's a female. She's a Buddhist monk, and it's called Becoming Bodhisattvas, a guidebook for compassionate action. So I think this is the one I'm going to read next. Although I might not, because I just read a book about Buddhism. So I'm really trying to mix it up with the religious books because I want to learn about different religions and what are the best parts of them? What are the parts that just help you live a good life and just be a good person without some of the other bullshit, you know? Because people can get caught up on the bullshit part of religion and forget about the other better, more useful parts of it. So I'm trying to do this kind of research, this religious research, to see if I can pull out some of these great parts of religion. So it might be this, maybe it'll be something else. I really like pantheism. Pantheism is interesting because it's basically, which I've kind of felt like Christianity was, but it's basically like everything is God. Nature is God, the universe is God, each of us is God, everything, you know, every living thing, I will say, is God. And Christianity kind of says that God is in each one of us. So I feel like that's kind of the same thing, but I do personally think God is also in a tree, and God is in a bird, and God is in my cat. So I think learning about pantheism will be interesting. I think I will really connect with it because I'm a nature lover and I'm an environmentalist. And so the earth keeps us alive. So I feel like it is God. Anyway, just something to chew on. Okay, so doing hard things, right? Doing hard things. Okay, so there's a couple different things. I went for coffee with a friend of mine recently, and I was telling her, like, you know, I really want to challenge myself. And there's sort of two areas that I want to focus on mainly. One is my health. Now, when I tell people I'm out of shape, they're like, what are you talking about? You look amazing. I'm like, I mean health-wise. Like, it is hard, though, for me to look in a mirror and see that I look great and to also know that I need more, like, exercise and heart health and strength and, like, core strength. You know, it's easy if you look in the mirror and you don't think you look good, like, oh, I should work out or whatever. But when you do look good, it's harder to motivate yourself. So I do need more different kind of exercise. I do walk. I do ride my bike. I have a pair of rollerblades, but I'm usually terrified to go out on them. But I really need, like, strength, like core strength, which is so important as you get older because, you know, it keeps you from tripping and falling and, like, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's like about balance. Like if you paddleboard a lot, you have incredible core strength, right? Or if you skateboarding probably involves a lot of core strength because you have to balance. So the other thing is, and I was talking about my friend Sandy about this too, I don't like to exercise. Like, I need something, it's either got to be structured. Like when I was in my 20s, I would go to the gym for like 2 hours. Apparently I had a lot of free time. But now I don't want to go to a gym per se, unless I had like a personal trainer who was going to like ride my ass. That would be amazing. Or I've thought if I could find some class to take, like Pilates is supposed to be really good for strength and core strength and stuff, or even some kind of martial art. I'm not very flexible though, so I worry about hurting myself with that. But I need to find something that I have to show up for. Because if I just have a gym membership, I've had gym memberships before, and like out of my 20s, you know, it's the kind of thing where you pay for it and then you don't go. Because I don't find that interesting. I don't find going to the gym interesting. especially if it's not structured in any way. It's just me going there and like, so so I'm going to yoga. I would do yoga also, but I want to go to classes that that are structured, that someone's guiding it, because I don't think I can afford a personal trainer. I'd be interested in it, but I think Pilates or yoga would be good. Would be good for what I want. So, and of course, when I went away to my silent meditation and yoga retreat, when I came back, I'm like, I'm going to go to yoga. Yeah. Did I ever go to yoga? No, I didn't go to yoga one time. Okay. So I need to challenge myself physically, and that's what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to, where's my pen? I would like to, set that up. I don't know where my pen went. I would like to set that up to start going next week. I've just got to do it. I am procrastinating, but I really need it. I really need it. And I need to make it a habit, Again, it's not like I'm just sitting on my ass all the time, although I do sit on my ass a lot because that's what I do for a living. But I think I need something more challenging, right? Riding my bike is not challenging unless I'm going to say I'm going to ride this many miles this week and this many miles next week, and that's probably not going to work. So I'm not like going to die. I do get exercise, but I want to be stronger. Yeah. And as you get older, especially as a woman, like it's really good to build up your muscles, and just, be strong. So that's one of the things that I really want to do. The other thing, which I'm sick of hearing myself talk about, this, I think, Paul probably said the same thing about getting sober. Like, I'm so sick of hearing myself talk about this. So I'm really sick of hearing myself tell myself and tell other people that I'm going to write a book. So, and I've started like 4 or 5 books, maybe 3 or 4. Okay. And, it takes dedication to write a whole book. Okay. And, I start and then I get distracted and then it feels like so much work to like get my head back into it. So, but incidentally, so there's every year there is an event called Nanowrimo, and that stands for National Novel Writing Month, and that is the month of November every year. And there's a whole website, you can join it, and it just kind of keeps track of how much you write every day. You pick a goal of how many words you want to write, and the idea isn't to edit at all, right? So it's just you sit down every day and write. Like if you want to write 50,000 words in a month, you have to write like 1,250 words a day or something like that. So also I use it's not a piece of software, it's a website called Dabble, which is kind of an app. It's kind of a web app, I guess, called Dabble. It's dabble.com, and it's a platform to write a book on. And so I've been using that for a while, and they're having a challenge also that I think is for 60 days, which will kind of overlap with NaNoWriMo in November. So it's October, starting today, until the end of November. And I spend enough time wasting time on my phone every day to write 1,250 words, which would be even less than that if I have 60 days instead of 30. So I have chosen which book I want to do. And this book could suck, okay? At this point, I just want to say I finished writing one. But I think the book I'm going to do, and this is part of my problem too, is I can't decide. A friend suggested I write a short book that to go along with the 5,000 Hugs Project that's about hugs and why we need them. And that would be a really short book and probably have some illustrations in it. It would just be kind of a really uplifting, feel good kind of thing. And I do see how that might be helpful. And it's possible I could do two, especially since that one will be so short, 2 books in the 2 months. But the other book I think I'm going to write it goes along with 2 of my Instagram accounts. Okay. So when I moved to St. Petersburg, I was really struggling. I had moved, I swear, 10 times in the 12 months previous to that. I had just gotten out of a long relationship. I was very heartbroken about it. And I had just moved to a new place, gotten a brand new apartment. I was trying to start my website business again because I had sold my first one and gotten a master's degree. And so when I first moved to St. Pete, I was wandering around looking at all the cool stuff, and there was a bicycle shop called Twofold Bicycle Shop. And all he sells is folding bicycles. And I went in there and I was like, oh my God, these are so cool. And I saw my first Brompton bicycle. Brompton is an English brand. They're all made in London. And they fold up very compact to about 2 feet by 2 feet. And they're very portable. And they're kind of a cult classic too around the world. So I saw this bicycle and I didn't even own a car. That was the other thing too. I was moving to St. Pete with no car. And so, they had a big bag you could put on the front of it. And I was like, and they were expensive. But for $1,800, that would be my car until I got a car. So I bought this $1,800 awesome folding bicycle, and I named it Simon, and I created an Instagram account for just photos of my Brompton in front of different things like murals or whatever. So my original account was Brompton Lover. And I started realizing that there were all these people around the world who had Bromptons, and they had Instagram accounts, and they were all pictures of their Brompton. So I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I have this international community of other Brompton lovers. So then I was like, I would love to take my Brompton on a trip and write a book about it. But I don't even actually have to wait to do that because I have so many photos of my Brompton. So anyway, I created a second Instagram account called the Brompton Diary. And I actually was keeping a journal when I first got my Brompton. And it was just a really interesting time of my life because I was going through all these transitions. And I had this bike. This bike was going through these transitions with me, So I could wait until I actually take a trip with my Brompton, or I can write this book now, and I can always do, the Brompton Diary Part 2 or whatever. I don't know, the Brompton Diary Across America edition in the future. But I think I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to put that book together now. It'll be sort of half photos, and they're Instagram photos. So I might do a square book, right? One side would be text and the other side would be images. I haven't really decided if I want to. I've been doing a lot of collage art. So should I collage these images? Should I put some sort of effect on them or just leave them the way they are? So I have a lot to think about, but the biggest thing that I need to think about is So for this kind of book, it's like about each page layout. So for each layout, what will be the text on this side and what will be the image on this side? It's a lot of stuff. Writing a book is hard. Even just thinking about writing a book is hard. So, but I'm going to write a fucking book in the next 60 days, at least one, if it kills me. Okay. And it might kill me, but I need to be doing something challenging that feels like it might kill me, but doesn't really kill me. All right. So yeah, let's see. The other books. So there's another book that I started that I could write now, but I'm just not sure if I want to. It's called Howard Hoax. And it's kind of a parody, like a cross between a confederacy of dunces and Walter Mitty. And I think that book would be incredibly funny. See, I should write that book right now. I've already written a lot of that book. And see, this is my problem. I can't figure out which book to finish first. But Howard Hoax, I think, will be a great book. I think if any book I write could be a bestseller, that one could be. It will be short and pithy and funny and relatable. I should write that book. This is really... See, it's hard. It's even hard just to decide which one to work on. Oh my God. Ugh. Okay, so I already talked about the Brompton Diary. The book about hugs, which might be called The Power of Hugs. I was going to call it The Book of Hugs, but there's like 5 books already called that. Then I have another... So part of reading all these books about religion is that I want to write a book that is kind of a guide for life that pulls from all the different religions, like the best parts of them that help you be a good person and love yourself and, you know, respect all God's creatures and all of that stuff. But I have to read all the books first. So that one definitely has to wait. And then I also kind of wanted to write a memoir called Surly Chick, because that was my sort of alter ego when I was in my 20s and part of my 30s, because I was just, well, I told you I was so unhappy in my 20s. So yeah, Surly Chick, that really, you know, I was a pessimist before I was an optimist. It usually happens the other way. So Surly Chick was my sort of snarky, unhappy, crabby, you know, self. So I'd like to write that book too someday. But I don't know. You've heard all the book ideas now. What's your thoughts on it? Which one do you think I should do first? I'll take any and all suggestions and advice. I'm just over here trying to figure it out. But I want to finish a fucking book by November 30th. I've been talking about this for probably 10 years, but at least 6. And when I see it in my journal that I've talked about it like 6 years ago, I get so mad. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just sit down? You know, I usually write essays, personal essays, blog posts, my weekly newsletter. Like, I'm good at writing short. And so it's been a challenge to wrap my head around like a 200-page book. But I really just need to break it down. And Howard Hoax, I have already written like, I don't know, 10 chapters of. I forget how many pages or how many words I've written, but apparently like a 150 to 200 page novel, which is a perfectly good size. I mean, look at the size of book that like Camus wrote, or like Old Man in the Sea, whatever the fuck his name was. A lot of really good literature is very short, and it has like a moral, and that's how I want Howard Hoax to be. It's called Howard Hoax, A Cautionary Tale. And so I really want it to, at the end, kind of like, you know who one of my favorite authors in the world is Paulo Coelho. He wrote The Alchemist. His books are so fucking amazing. They blow your mind with like the way he tells this tale, and it has some huge life meaning, and you're like, damn, that was so good. And they're not long. So I don't think, and I don't want to, I don't think I have to write a 300-page novel. I think I need to write a 150 to 200-page novel in a very small format and big print. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, I just want to say I finished one, even if nothing happens with it. I can put it on Amazon and they'll print them for free, sell ebooks. I don't even have to, I don't have to have a publisher. I can just self-publish and like whatever. At this point, I just want the satisfaction of saying that I did it, because I know I can do it. I just let a lot of things distract me because it's hard, right? So I need to do the hard thing, and like, yeah. So wish me luck on that. What else do I have to tell you? Yeah, I've just been, I had to postpone that vision board workshop again because of the hurricane. So now it's going to be next week. But I've just been thinking more about that, sort of narrowing down like the different categories of things that are important to me in life. So at this point, I've kind of gotten down to community, companionship, adventure, purpose, and health. And so, in those things are all the different things I want in my life. And so, the finding a class to go to that fits into health, and the writing a book kind of fits into purpose, I think. So, yeah. And so with this list, of categories and sort of things in them that are the most important things I want in my life, when I choose to do something, like if I'm scrolling on my phone, I can ask myself, is this contributing to one of these things that I want in my life, And if the answer is no, like if I'm on there doing some marketing, then yes. But if I'm on there just wasting time, the answer is no. And I can put my phone down and ask myself, like, what is something I could be doing? And again, I don't need to be working all the time. But, some of the stuff that contributes to these things is enjoyable. And at the very least, I could be outdoors, enjoying the outdoors, taking a walk or whatever, instead of being on my phone. So I just don't want to be on my phone so much. I will say I've been really like low energy. Even before COVID, I was just like in a funk. And so I think sometimes when I'm sitting there and I feel low energy, I know that if I just got up and did something, that my energy would probably come back. Like if I got excited about something, right? So just like I said last night, I was sitting here with no energy. But if Paul had come over and we were going to go dancing, then my energy probably would have come back. I just need something to motivate me. And the worst part about writing a book, I think, is that it does involve sitting in front of a computer more. And I already do that for a living. So I do think that's one of the hard parts about it. But if I could just maybe do that first thing in the morning, when I have the most energy, and then maybe take a walk and come back, and then I'll have, some more energy to work. I don't want to work on this book more than like an hour a day, because I think that'll be a lot, but we'll see how it goes. It just, yeah, I think that's the worst part about writing a book, is that I'm in my apartment still, alone, working. So, I have to make sure I can offset that, right, with extra like outdoor time or people time or whatever, so that I don't feel like it's making me more isolated, right? So that's about it, folks. Oh, I did want to mention something funny. I'm sure you guys have already noticed this. It's the elephant in the room, but this is duct tape on my couch. And the reason there's duct tape on my couch in a couple places is because my cat scratched it. And at first I just put some packing tape over it so that, because she doesn't like tape. Cats don't like tape. But then I was like, that packing tape looks like shit. And this duct tape actually matches the exact color of my couch. So I'm not going to get a new couch for a while because I just got this one a couple years ago and it's perfectly fine. But I did put duct tape on it because my cat scratched it. So that's my confession. That is all I have for today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and I love you guys.